Na 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 na. My New Year's resolution is off to a pretty good start. So after suffering through several months where I basically couldn't read any fiction and just kept binge reading non-fiction, I'm finally back into the swing of things and I've read some really great stories recently, so I decided to make one of my New Year's resolutions to read a wider variety of authors and a wider variety of fiction genres as well. So that is basically what this haul is all about. So I've already read a few of them, so we'll start with those ones, and the first one is Leaving Time by Jodi Picoult. When I was about 16, 17, I read quite a lot of Picoult, but for some reason just stopped. And this one is a great way for me to get back into her work. It's about a young girl whose mother abandoned her when she was young, and she now as a teenager wants to find out what happened and why and where her mother actually is. Now, it's great. There was a point halfway through where I thought, I don't really care about this, not emotionally invested in it, I'm going to give up. But I'm so glad that I persevered because that ending really blew me away. It was absolutely worth it and really good. This one I'd been desperate to read since it came out, so I'm so glad I finally got my hands on a copy. This is Rebound, and it's set in Hampstead and on Hampstead Heath, where a lot of the crime in this takes place. So being a Hampsteadite, that for me was so wonderful. It's always great when we can read about places we were familiar with. It's kind of like chick lit meets crime in a way. We have a female protagonist and a lot of the writing style I feel is very chick lit like. But obviously there's a lot of crime in this as well and it can get quite brutal. So if you're looking to make a transition from chick lit to crime, I think this one is absolutely perfect. And the last one that I have read or tried to read is Stephen King's Pet Sematary. Now first of all, let's just appreciate that cover for a second because that is stunning. I'm really trying to get into Stephen King. I read The Shining about 4 or 5 years ago and didn't like it. Loved the film. This one I started to read and I got about a third of the way through and I just gave up for two reasons. One, I was a fool for thinking that I could read a story that's emotional about pets and dead animals. I can't. If it comes to cats, I cannot read anything about them. But also a third of the way through and not one element of horror or scariness or fear. So I just thought, no. So if you do have any Stephen King recommendations for me, please let me know because I would really love to get into his work, but I'm just having really bad luck with picking ones that are going to get me hooked. So none of the rest I've read, and in no order. First of all, we have Sappho, Stung with Love, Poems and Fragments. These are of course poems written by Sappho, from whom the word sapphist for lesbian derives, and this is basically a collection of love and I think somewhat erotic poems from many years ago. I'm trying to find the date. It's BC anyway, so we're talking thousands of years ago. And I've not read any of this, but I've read a few of her poems online and I really loved them, so I'm hoping that this is going to be delightful. The only non-fiction in here is Sid Field's Screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting. I got this one out because it has some actual physical examples of formatting and things like that, whereas a lot of them are all about creating stories. I know how to create stories, it's more the formatting I'm interested in, so I'm really looking forward to this one. One of my biggest New Year's resolutions was to at least try to get into graphic novels because I have such an appreciation for illustrators and visual artists because I can't draw, I can't even hold a pencil straight. And I think this is such a great way to enjoy these kind of stories. So this is Batman Gates of Gotham. Now being a huge Batman fan, I thought this was a perfect place to start, and yeah, I mean I've not read it yet, but it looks really interesting. It looks like a really quick read and I'm hoping this will be the start of a new graphic novel obsession. I lied, we have one more non-fiction here. This is Votes for Women, the Virago book of Suffragettes, edited by Joyce, Marlow. I have a deep love for the suffragettes anyway, in the suffrage movement. I am a feminist, but I'm also reading this for research purposes at the moment as well. I don't know what it looks like. I think it's kind of letters that were written at the time from suffragettes and possibly those in return. So I think it's going to be quite an accurate historical account, hopefully. Second last is quite an interesting cover. This is Sylvia Plath's collected poems. I wasn't wanting this, I was wanting to read The Bell Jar, but I couldn't find it. So I thought I'll go for some of Plath's poems, and I've read maybe 30 of them. There is a lot in here. And they're alright. Her poetry style is not entirely to my liking, it's a bit non-conventional, but there are certain poems in here that, yeah, I thought were really. There was one about a cat, or a woman who had loads of cats, and I really liked that one. And the last one is an author I'm trying to get into. This is Peter James. This one is The House on Cold Hill. It sounds like kind of a ghosty, eerie story, which I love. Yeah, I'm hoping this is going to be a little bit scary and quite intense. I've heard so many great things about Peter James. A lot of people love his work. So hopefully I've picked the right one to start with. So for what I think is my first book haul of 2017, I'm really quite excited about all of these. I absolutely have to read the graphic novel next. I've had it sitting in a box for about a week and I'm really desperate to get my hands on it. If you have any book recommendations for me, I would love to hear them, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!